This room is for STD testing. There's also a sonogram machine in this room. We also have these little guys over here. This is giant syphilis.
Oh my gosh. Do people hold these?
Yes.
This is Women's Choice Network. They offer free sonograms, STD testing, and information about abortion. But it's not an OBGYN office. How often do women come in here who are undecided?
Every day. We want to help her see how things are going. So this is 6 weeks, 7 weeks.
Amy Schuring is the director of Women's Choice Network. They're what's known as a crisis pregnancy center, or CPC. And although these centers may advertise abortion help, they're ultimately advocating for one thing. What is the mission of Women's Choice Network?
We're here to empower abortion-vulnerable people to choose life.
The American Medical Association defines crisis pregnancy centers as organizations that try to reach women considering abortion, but they don't perform the procedure or give referrals. Around Pittsburgh, there are 14 CPCs versus just 3 abortion clinics. They vastly outnumber abortion providers on the national level, too. Estimates for CPCs range from 2,500 to 4,000, whereas abortion providers hover around 1,671. So I wanted to know, why are there so many CPCs out there? Crisis pregnancy centers first opened in the late 1960s, a few years before Roe v. Wade. They've grown in size and scale since then, often with the support from Christian organizations like CareNet and Heartbeat International. And although some started out offering pregnancy tests and adoption assistance, many have introduced other medical services over the years. It's led to criticism from health experts who have accused CPCs of using these services to appear neutral.
CPCs are working really hard to make women feel like they're in a doctor's office. They pick names for the clinics that sound medical. They try to make their offices across the street from medical clinics.
I spoke with Dara Purvis. She teaches law at Penn State. Is everything that CPCs are doing legal?
CPCs are operating in this legal gray area. There isn't regulation that has been successful.
So it's not that they're illegal. It's just that they aren't constrained by the laws and regulations you might expect. But I still wanted to hear from women who are actually drawn to these places.
Women's Choice Network had an Earn While You Learn program. You could earn baby bucks to spend within their store to get supplies for your infant.
Meet Wesley and Macy Lucas. They relied on several CPCs during their pregnancies. Walk me through when you walked into Women's Choice Network.
They had put on this weird video at first, and it was like very heavy religious overtones. That's when the counselor came in, and then she had asked me what religious affiliation I had.
I was given some of the literature on abortion that they had that was just filled with so many inconsistencies, you know, like women who have abortion are more likely to get breast cancer.
Did you feel misled?
Yes,
Absolutely. I mean, it's called Women's Choice Network. I would have thought it would have been, at the very least, a referral to let me know about other abortion clinics.
Macy and Wesley ultimately continued their pregnancies. But for women who remain undecided, some argue there are more serious consequences. How often do patients come in having seen a CPC before?
A lot, to the point that it's changed my practice.
This is Colleen Krajewski. She's one of the few abortion providers in Pittsburgh. Here, she's telling me about her experience with CPCs as a whole.
One of the most common reasons people go there is for a free ultrasound. Someone will then come to me with delayed care and misinformation. I've had a patient who was told that her risk of death during an abortion would be 10%. Abortion does not have a 10% mortality rate.
When you Google abortion Pittsburgh, CPCs are listed as some of the top choices, right alongside actual abortion providers. That includes Women's Choice Network, which lists several tabs about abortion. But when I was looking into this story, I realized they actually have 2 websites that look very different. Why have 2 websites?
We have 2 very distinct audiences. You know, the fundraising. That's a very, very different audience than a woman facing down some big obstacles.
Why call yourself Women's Choice Network when the singular choice is the one to carry the pregnancy out?
The most common story that we hear from a person who's had a previous abortion experience is she says, I had no choice. There wasn't anything else I could do. So we're able to offer choices. Adoption, it's an awesome option. Single parenting, marriage.
But it's sort of all of the choices except abortion.
Oh no, that's definitely explored.
But do they deserve to know the real mission is a pro-life mission.
I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't say that we have this agenda. Our agenda is her. If she's considering abortion, she's at the right place. And we tell her that all the time. You called the right place. You need to know you have a viable intrauterine pregnancy. You need to know exactly how many weeks you are.
Those are all things that an abortion provider can also do. So why not just send them to
free?
If someone says, I need an abortion, am I in the right place? And you say, you are in the right place.
You're in the right place because this is what you need. Do we do abortions? No. And we tell them. I mean, it's very clear in the phone conversation.
Women's Choice Network does have a line towards the bottom of their website that says they don't provide abortions. But the question around what CPCs should disclose remains controversial. In 2015, California passed a law requiring CPCs to tell their clients where they could access an abortion. But the Supreme Court struck down that law last year, ruling it violated free speech rights for CPCs. It goes back to why there are so many of these centers. The regulations are complicated. The Department of Health said that this facility actually wasn't licensed as a medical facility, while the Department of State said there are medical professionals licensed.
Yes.
I think on your website is licensed as a medical facility in Pennsylvania.
That is the doctor's license is what everything hangs on.
Do all the doctors have a background in reproductive health?
No, they don't, and they're not really required to. One is an OBGYN, and the others are family practice people. So
CPCs aren't required to have medical staff. Women's Choice Network does anyway. We found 2 volunteer doctors with backgrounds in family practice and orthopedic surgery. But we couldn't find the OBGYN Amy mentioned. When I followed up with her for more information, she said the full names of volunteers are kept private, and that we'd have to trust the person exists. There's this, too. The day after our interview, we noticed Women's Choice Network had changed some of the wording on their website. They originally called themselves a medical facility licensed by the state of Pennsylvania. Now, they describe themselves as a medical clinic with board-certified physicians. When I asked about the change, Amy explained their website is updated frequently to be more relevant to Google searches. That was the first major change we noticed since working on this story, though. But regardless of how these places are classified, it's worth noting some women do benefit from their services, especially expecting moms.
I didn't have to pay for a single thing the whole first year of my daughter's life. Not one diaper.
I was a young woman, who intended on keeping my pregnancy, and I was in need. These kinds of programs were intended for women exactly in my situation.
Crisis pregnancy centers are typically nonprofit organizations, relying heavily on outside funding to provide free services. For example, Women's Choice Network counts on private donations. However, many other CPCs receive taxpayer dollars. Pennsylvania was the first state to do this. And now, 14 states fund CPCs directly. They've also found support from some pretty powerful people.
My life is winning because of the compassion of caregivers and volunteers at crisis pregnancy centers.
Vice President Pence signed off on $3.5 million state dollars to a CPC group back when he was governor of Indiana. And today, the Trump administration has only emboldened this movement, using a family planning program called Title X. It proposed a new rule that would strip Title X funding from clinics that provide abortions or abortion referrals. Additionally, back in March, the Department of Health and Human Services granted a chain of CPCs up to $5.1 million in Title X funds. Also, the person who oversees Title X is Diane Foley, who used to run 2 CPCs in Colorado. But really, this all leads back to a lingering question about medicine and religion. You are a life-affirming organization. Can you have medical professionals that essentially advocate for one choice?
Why would a medical professional who embraces that worldview take the life?
I think the question is, should medical professionals be practicing medicine from the vantage point of their worldview?
When we see a baby on the screen on the ultrasound machine, that's a separate and distinct person. And when we decide that one person has the power to take away another person's life, that's the nut of it, right? That's really what the controversy's been all about.
Hey, NBC News viewers, thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Subscribe by clicking on that button down here and click on any of the videos over here to watch the latest interviews, show highlights, and digital exclusives. Thanks for watching.